The Attorney's Office is turning directly to teenagers for answers on some of the biggest issues facing young people today.
Sean Rice heard from the teens today on violence, reckless driving, and being a teenager today is not easy, Sean. So what'd you hear?
Yeah, and one of the main things County Attorney Rachel Mitchell said is far too often adults who are trying to tackle these problems that teens may be facing are not talking to the teens directly themselves. That's what compelled her to start the Teen Advisory Council. It's a group of more than 24 teens who meet monthly to discuss the most pressing issues they're facing in their daily lives. And today we had the pleasure of having an opportunity to hear from 4 of them. The students right here met throughout the school year, hearing from prosecutors, law enforcement officials, and community leaders before deciding which issues they felt were most important to tackle. The group created educational materials like you're seeing here, aimed at helping teens understand the consequences of reckless driving and what to do if a friend experiences a drug overdose. But as discussions continued, students said one topic kept resurfacing. That's mental health. They told county leaders many teens feel isolated, overwhelmed, and unsure where to turn for support. Take a listen to the back and forth I had with several of these high schoolers and the insight they gave. When you learn something here as being on this board or council, and you try to have those conversations with your peers, how do you approach those conversations, and what do you hear back when you do have those conversations?
So you have to first find the right person. And once you do, you approach it softly. You start with a casual conversation. Because you got to make whoever you're talking to comfortable first before you tell them that something they're doing is wrong. And then when you actually have the conversation, the most important thing to do is listen.
Are you guys seeing that in your day-to-day, that there's fights that happen and they get out of control and ultimately people get hurt? Do you guys see that?
I have been in situations where I have seen fights happen, and mostly they really do come from not being around the right group of people. So overall, I have not seen it recently, which I think that it definitely has gotten better over the past few months. Police have been doing a really good job monitoring that stuff. And social media they've been very good on monitoring social media.
So a big question that came up this afternoon is, how can adults help teens face these problems? Many of them said that adults often want to immediately solve their children's problems, but when sometimes teenagers, really all they need is someone who is willing to listen to them, sit on the couch, have a conversation, not try to tackle those problems for them, but just hear them out. They also said one thing that can really help is if parents show their children the consequences of their actions visually, saying, hey, this can happen to you if you decide to behave that way. Now, the county attorney's office will have applications open for teens to serve on their youth advisory council beginning at the end of July, right in time for this upcoming school year. Send it back to you guys.
And I know I'm an older guy, but I never remember when I was a kid, people having the mental health challenges or the suicidal thoughts and things that the kids are today. Did you get any insight into what's going on and why some of these kids are so upset?
They said there is definitely a nexus to social media, but they actually view it a different way. They view that oftentimes kids who are struggling with mental health issues go to social media to cope. They mentioned that you can go on TikTok and just scroll and scroll and scroll for hours to not have to think about the mental issues that you may be suffering with or going through on your day-to-day. So instead of parents immediately restricting social media and taking it away from them, take their phone, they said often engage in those conversations about how it can be used as beneficial versus just a way to cope with your problems.
Yeah, and I think in our generation, it was a lot more taboo. We just didn't talk about it a whole lot, and I feel like these days, there's so many different avenues and outlets to express.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting that the county attorney is doing that. I think it's a great strategy.
Yeah.
So also during that news conference today, the Maricopa